Hi everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into how to navigate the Statement of Interest for McMaster University's Master of Social Work program. If you've started looking into it, you'll know that McMaster is a little bit different because it does offer two distinct MSW streams, each with its own set of prompts. So in this guide, we'll break down both of them so you can feel confident in your applications. We'll cover some general tips first, and then do a deep dive into the critical analysis stream, followed by the critical leadership stream, before wrapping up with some key takeaways. Before we get started, I'm Alyssa, and I'm an application advisor with MSW Helper, a platform dedicated to helping people like you increase your odds of getting accepted into an MSW program. I know that when I was applying to programs, I remember feeling very lost, overwhelmed, stressed out. I did not know what schools wanted or how to really make my statement stand out. But with the support of MSW Helper, I ended up getting accepted or waitlisted everywhere I applied, and now I get to help other applicants do the same. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started, MSW Helper is not in any way affiliated with McMaster University, so everything that follows is just our tips and opinions. First, it's important to understand the two streams. The critical analysis stream is thesis-based, and it's geared towards students who are interested in research, policy analysis, and contributing to academic knowledge. The critical leadership stream is course-based with a major leadership project designed for those who want to lead programs, agencies, and community initiatives. While their focus is different, both are grounded in McMaster's core philosophy of critical social work. This means your entire statement, regardless of the stream, should demonstrate your ability to think critically about power, oppression, social justice, and systemic issues. Before we get into the specific prompts for each stream, there are 5 tips that will apply no matter which one you pick. The first being, know your why. You need to articulate not just why you want an MSW, but why you want to obtain it at McMaster, and specifically why the stream that you are choosing. Second, weave a single compelling narrative across all of your answers. Your experiences, goals, and interests in the program should all connect logically. Third, be specific. Instead of saying you have good communication skills, show them. Describe a situation where you use them, perhaps say to de-escalate a conflict. Fourth, formatting matters. Stick to the page limits, spacing rules, anything like that they give you, and do keep in mind that the page count is different between the two streams. And then fifth, please proofread. And then proofread again, and consider having someone else proofread it as well. It really is that important. All right, let's dive into the critical analysis stream. Remember, this is the 4-page limit thesis focus statement. Your goal here is to present yourself as a thoughtful, curious, and capable emerging researcher. Starting with question 1, they want to know about a community issue you care about and how you might investigate that issue through your thesis. The first prompt asks, what is the most significant issue facing the community with which you are connected or about which you care? Describe how your thesis research could support a better understanding or assist in addressing the issue. So for this one, they want to see that you can identify a real-world social justice issue and imagine a research project to address it. And your proposed thesis idea doesn't need to be perfect or fully fleshed out. It's not a thesis proposal, but it should be focused and demonstrate that you understand what research entails. And for this, the foundation of a good answer is really in being specific. Don't just say that you have interests in mental health or something equally kind of as vague. Instead, talk about something like a lack of after-hours crisis support for single-parent families in a specific region. On top of that, I find that applicants who stand out also do two things. First, they justify why research is the answer. They explicitly state the knowledge gap that's preventing progress on the issue. For example, saying something like, while frontline workers are aware of this problem, there is a lack of rigorous, community-informed data to advocate for policy change, which is the gap my research aims to fill. A statement like this will show that you understand the purpose of academic inquiry in social work. Second, they connect their interest to McMaster from the very first paragraph. You want to make that connection clear early on. A reviewer's eyes will light up if you write something like, "This issue could be explored through a critical discourse analysis, a methodology I know Dr. Jane Smith at McMaster specializes in." You could equally put this about a specific area or topic of interest you have that a faculty member does engage with. And doing this will help signal that you really are serious about this specific program and you've done your research. Next is question 2, which focuses on your experience. This question asks you to discuss how your experiences, including research experience, employment or volunteer work, training or teaching experience, life experience, and or your practicum, basically all the experiences, inform your desire to participate in the MSW in critical analysis. They also note that they are particularly interested in examples of relevant experience which indicate a capacity for innovative and independent thinking, and in your reflection on previous opportunities to participate in research projects, program planning, practice development, organized advocacy, or administration. They're also clear that they want your description to reflect the length, range, and diversity of your experience. So it really sounds like they want a holistic picture there. Beyond just wanting to know how your experiences have prepared you, which is, the crux of this question, I want you to zero in on the most important phrase here: innovative and independent thinking. Now, a lot of applicants will just list the skills that they've learned in their practicum or since their BSW in the workplace. And that's fine, but it won't make you stand out. You have to think about it from the admission reviewer's perspective. They read hundreds upon hundreds of applications. And after a while, the job duties from a BSW practicum or whatever someone's role is post-graduation can all start to sound very similar. But what never sounds similar or the same is if you can show your unique brain at work. So my advice is to really go beyond your resume and the resume kind of style descriptions. Don't just describe your tasks, describe a problem you encountered. Tell them about a time you looked at a standard procedure and asked, why do we do it this way? Is there a better way? Could we serve these people better? Or a moment that you used a piece of theory from a class to reframe a difficult case. Or a time that you did some research and sought some data to make some change and to try to drive social justice. Ultimately, they aren't just looking for proof that you can do the work. They're looking for evidence of how you think and of how your experiences have shaped you. That's the mark of a promising researcher who is innovative And that's what will make your applications truly memorable. Moving on to question number 3, this one is all about your program expectations and fit. This prompt asks you to please discuss your expectations of this program. Indicate why you were interested in the MSW in Critical Analysis program, including why you're interested in writing a thesis, and how you expect it to help you in pursuing your career and personal development goals. This is going to require you to do your homework. Go to McMaster's MSW website and look around. Find perhaps 2 or 3 professors whose research interests align with your own, and see if you can mention 1, maybe 2 of them by name, and make it clear what the connection is. Explain why their work is relevant to you. And you also need to remember here that you have to be explicit about why a thesis and not a course-based degree is the right path for your specific career goals. Are you, for example, planning to pursue a PhD? Do you want to become a specialized policy analyst? Connect the dots for the admissions committee. I also recommend avoiding any kind of generic flattery here. What reviewers really want to see is that you understand the school's core identity. So you must connect with McMaster's critical mandate. Don't just say you want to be a social worker or a researcher in the area of social work. Explain why you are drawn to a program that will equip you to challenge power structures and to analyze systemic oppression. Show them that you are not just looking for any MSW. You're looking for one that aligns with your developing philosophy of social work, which is grounded in social justice. That is what will show that you belong at McMaster. The final question for the critical analysis stream looks at publications and written work. It asks you to please provide a brief description of any publications and unpublished papers, reports, or proposals. So first things first, take a breath. I know that the word publications can cause a lot of anxiety for some people and feelings of imposter syndrome, and maybe you're not going to be competitive. But I want to be clear that the committee is not expecting you to have a peer-reviewed article in a major journal or any journal for that matter. What they really want is proof that you can handle the rigorous writing and research of a thesis-based program. And as a BSW graduate, you absolutely have the proof they're looking for. Your task is to dig through your past work and find your strongest samples. Think about things like a major research paper from a senior level course, your undergraduate honors thesis, or maybe you did a research-based practicum, or something like that, or a significant report that you wrote for your practicum agency. Now here's the tip that will take your answer from good to great. Be strategic. Don't just list random papers. Your goal is to create a cohesive narrative. And the best way to do that is to prioritize listing examples that connect back to ideally the thesis topic you proposed in question 1. But if you don't have any of those, at the very least, something that's going to show off your critical social work thinking skills. So, for example, if your thesis idea is about Indigenous child welfare, and you can list a major paper you wrote on that exact topic, you're not just showing that you can write, you're proving that your passion for that subject is deep and long-standing. And that consistency is incredibly powerful to an admissions committee. Finally, you might be asking, how exactly do I describe these? And my advice here is to keep it simple and professional. They do say to keep it to a brief description, so you don't need to go overboard. But for each entry or kind of writing sample that you have, provide the title, let them know what the topic is, what the context is. For example, if you did it in a course or at a practicum agency or wherever. And then also briefly tell them about the purpose of it and why it matters and how it's relevant to this degree that you are trying to achieve. Now let's switch gears to the critical leadership stream. This one is a 5-page statement for the course-based program, and it's all about your potential to lead and create change within organizations and communities. So with this one, you're positioning yourself as a reflective, action-oriented practitioner. But remember that this isn't an MBA, it is a critical leadership MSW. So they're not just looking for someone who wants to be the boss, they want someone who wants to really lead for social justice. The first question that this stream asks about is a leadership situation. Specifically, they ask you to describe a situation in which you have offered or tried to offer leadership. So the most important thing to understand here is that leadership is not about having a formal title like manager or supervisor. It's about action. It's about a time that you took initiative, influenced a group, advocated for a client, or mentored a peer. My advice is to choose one single compelling story that you can really explore in detail. Definitely do not list multiple examples because they ask for one situation. So choose a story that best reflects social work values. Don't just tell them about a time that you made a process more efficient or saved the agency money. Tell them about a time you advocated for an unpopular idea because it was equitable, or a time you tried to flatten power hierarchies in a team meeting. The prompt deliberately says tried to offer leadership, meaning that even if you failed, if the attempt was rooted in critical anti-oppressive values, it's a great story to use. And if you want some tips on how to structure your answer, I highly recommend using the STAR method. Describe the situation, the task you faced, the action you took, the results of your action, and maybe even some reflection there. This creates a clear and powerful narrative that sets the stage perfectly for the next question. Question 2 builds off the story you tell in question 1, asking you to reflect on the outcomes and the constraints. The prompt asks, within this situation, what was possible to achieve and why? And what constraints did you face in attempting to act in a leadership capacity? I think this is the most important question for this stream. This is where you prove that you understand what the word critical actually means. It's where you move from telling a story to showing that you can think critically about it. And this prompt has 2 parts. So let's start with the first. What's possible to achieve and why? Now, notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, describe your amazing success. This is important. Your job here is to be an honest analyst of the outcome, whatever it was. Maybe you achieved a small but significant win. Maybe the main outcome was a valuable lesson learned from a failure. Both are powerful and can create really strong answers. The key is to reflect on why that was the result. Connecting the outcome, positive, negative, or mixed, to specific factors that show you have a capacity for this mature reflection on what the committee is looking for. Now for the second part of that question, the constraints you faced, we can apply a few different kind of layers of analysis here. The standard answer that's okay is going to stay at the surface level. Perhaps it might be very kind of interpersonal, saying something to the effect of, my manager said no, or my coworkers resisted the idea. And this is a trap you want to avoid. Your job is to dig deeper and analyze the power dynamics at play. So I want you to ask the why behind the why. So if your manager said no, why? Was the real constraint the rigid agency hierarchy that discourages ideas from the front line? Was it the pressure of a funding model that punishes risk? When you do this, you stop describing a personal conflict or the interpersonal dynamics and start instead analyzing a systemic issue. And finally, to take your answer to the absolute top tier, add a final layer of self-reflexivity. You turn the lens back on yourself, right? Asking, how did my own position, my role as a student, as a whatever your job title is, my race, my gender, any number of factors affect my ability to lead in that moment, to influence, to drive change? Did my identity make it easier to be heard, or did it pose a barrier? When you combine an honest reflection on the outcome with that deep, multi-layered analysis of the constraints or facilitators, you're demonstrating the exact kind of sophisticated critical thinking that they need to see. Question 3 asks how your past experiences have shaped your desire to pursue a leadership-focused MSW program. Specifically, it asks you to discuss how your employment, experience, and practicum have shaped your understanding of leadership and your desire to participate in the MSW in critical leadership in social services and communities. This is where you connect the dots between your past and your future goals. So talk about your experiences that have shaped your philosophy of leadership. Perhaps you worked under a fantastic manager and it inspired you. Or maybe you worked in a toxic environment and it made you realize the need for a more ethical, anti-oppressive leadership model. As part of your answer too, you're going to want to make sure that you define what critical leadership means in your own words and explain how your experiences have led you to pursue it. But also keep in mind that you want to show an evolution. Don't just list experiences that prove you're already a good leader. Show them how your understanding of leadership has grown and has become more critical over time. Maybe you started your career thinking that leadership was just about telling people what to do and being in charge. But after working in a marginalized community, you realized true leadership is about stepping back and amplifying the voice of others and listening. Show them that journey and then explain how this specific MSW program is the necessary next step in your continued evolution. And the final question for the critical leadership stream is about your vision for the leadership project. This program requires students to undertake a leadership project within the context of a field placement. Describe your proposed leadership project and some of the experiences you hope to have in the course of completing the project. If you have ideas about a context, sector, setting, or have a mentor with whom you'd like to complete the project, please describe. So, similar to the thesis proposal, this doesn't have to be a final plan, but it does need to be well considered. So, what kinds of projects do you want to do? Examples could be things like developing a new program, creating a training manual for staff that really has this critical component that's needed and fills some kind of gap, or crafting a policy advocacy strategy. And mention the sector that you're interested in, like child welfare or mental health, and the kind of setting you envision. If you have a potential organization or sector in mind, that's a huge bonus. It shows initiative and a clear vision for how you want to use your time in the program. Most importantly, though, keep in mind that the reviewers are looking for two things here: ambition and feasibility. They want a project that aims for real systemic change, not just running a new support group, but perhaps developing a framework to make all agency support groups more trans-inclusive, for example. However, you need to balance your ambition with feasibility. Feasibility to complete it during a practicum. Vague ideas like ending poverty in Hamilton will show a lack of practical understanding. That's a hard thing to solve, period, and it's definitely not going to be done during a practicum. So be specific. Name the target sector, name a potential agency or a concrete type of deliverable like a policy manual or evaluation framework. Be specific about why this is a piece of critical leadership, and show that you're really ready to hit the ground running. You've really thought about this. So after all that detail, let's zoom out and review the 4 most important things to remember. These are the things that apply to every applicant, no matter which of the 2 streams you choose. First, choose the right stream for your goals. Be honest with yourself. Are your passions and career aspirations geared towards in-depth research and analysis, or towards hands-on leadership and program development? The admissions committee needs to see a clear and logical alignment between your goals and the specific stream you've chosen. Your entire statement must prove that you've made the right choice. Second, embrace the critical mandate. This is the single most important piece of advice I can give you. McMaster's identity is built on critical social work. A reviewer is going to be actively looking for your ability to analyze systems of power, oppression, and social justice. It's not just a buzzword that you can sprinkle in. It should be the lens through which you write every single answer. Third, tell one cohesive story. Your statement isn't a checklist of 4 separate answers. It's a single document that should paint a clear and consistent picture of who you are. Your past experiences, your proposed thesis or leadership project, your future goals, and your reasons for choosing McMaster should all link together logically, reinforcing each other to create a compelling narrative. And finally, number 4, be specific. Anyone can write that McMaster has an excellent reputation, but a serious applicant proves that they've done their homework. They mention specific faculty whose work excites them and explains why and how it connects to their goals. They connect with the school's unique philosophy. They explain exactly how this program, and not any other, is the essential next step. That level of detail is what separates a good application from a great one, and it's what will make you stand out. I hope that this has been helpful and that you're feeling more confident about writing your statement of intent for McMaster. A great next step is to check out our free personal statement template, which you can find using the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all of the best of luck with your MSW applications.